Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. It really helps me out if you like, comment, subscribe, and if you would consider purchasing from one of my sponsors in the description. Thanks a bunch.
Alright everyone, today's episode is brought to you by Super Smooth Hobby Lubricants. Super Smooth Hobby Lubricants are 100% synthetic, and they come in medium oil versions, light oil, and PTFE or Teflon grease in this handy tube. These are very recent and modern formulations. The company that actually manufactures the oil and grease for Super Smooth is a very well-known company, and Super Smooth worked with their chemists to make sure that these would fulfill the needs of modern hobbyists. These formulas are specifically designed not to gum up, and they're designed also not to attract any kind of grease or dirt or dust. So remember Super Smooth. It's slicker than smooth. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in today. I just want to let you know that this is the last edition of Train Grabbag. I did these because I have to go through my trains anyway, but trying to keep these to around 20 minutes has just been incredibly problematic. So I'm going to replace these with a different formatted show, I guess. So this will be the last one. I hope you enjoy. And the newer ones will be shorter, and I'll show fewer locomotives, sometimes probably maximum only of 2. So enjoy this one, and I will see you soon. Okay, the first one I have today is this really interesting Miller High Life Express. I assume this was part of some sort of, the promotional thing that you could get, that you could mail in for. I haven't gone into look at the history of this or anything. It looks like there's a little bite taken out of it. It actually looks very clean. Maybe it was just displayed. There's just that little bite taken out of it. But that's not a problem. You don't really see that, especially from 3 feet. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be from Model Power. I've seen these before. Yep, sure enough, Model Power. So there you go. Pretty neat. I actually like these. They work pretty well. The problem is they're not heavy enough, and so they can pull just about the number of cars that come with it. And one of the cars that comes with this is this Sharps caboose, and they're matching color. In fact, do they even make Sharps anymore? I don't actually drink alcohol, and Sharps is am I right in that it's a near beer? It's an alcoholic free. I don't know. I may be way off base now, but they certainly look good together. It's a nice gold. They don't 100% match through and through, it looks like, but there you have it. One thing, I don't know why I always like sort of the deeper recesses of the intakes here in the Model Power. Let's take a look at it. This is very typical. It's actually a decent setup, actually, that has a motor that goes out to dual shafts, which drive both sets of wheels. That's pretty nice. Again, the big problem with these, by and large, is that they're way too light. They're easy to DCC. I've got one, and I'll show it off one of these days. But let's see if this works here. Okay, and it obviously works just fine, no problems. And that's been my experience. These are actually pretty reliable runners, except they just don't pull very much when they are running. So there you have it. No complaints. Even if they would have added flywheels, it would have made things better in the sense that the flywheels would have added some weight. And as these are a little bit noisy, this hasn't been run very much. I don't know if you remember the wheels here from a second ago, but they were very clean. A little bit of stiction there, but it's not too bad. But overall, I think we've got a runner. Looks like it'll do just fine. Let's see about the crawl. Yeah, unfortunately, without the flywheels, it's not going to have the greatest crawl, but it's not bad for what it is. Sure, it wasn't a very expensive locomotive to produce, so yeah, I can deal with this, I guess. Let's put the caboose on. Watch it pull this around. It's got a busted coupler, so it's not going to be pulling anything around. guess it'll have to push this. It's the best we can do is pushing. Fair enough. We'll see what this looks like together. Okie dokie, there you have it. It's a pretty nice looking locomotive, I think. I don't have any complaints. Like I said, I've got one of these model power E or F units running, and it runs pretty well until it gets about 8 cars on it. Then it just doesn't really want to run anymore. But there you go. All right, let's let this run for a second, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, here we go with a Tyco Southern Pacific Baldwin RF-16 shark nose. This one actually looks really sharp. Really nice looking locomotive. I don't know if Southern Pacific actually ran these. I have kind of a soft spot for Baldwin. It's like the company that they tried so hard, and they made all these really nifty looking designs, but their incompetence and inability to adapt to the market just doomed them almost from the start of the diesel era. But boy, how can you not like shark noses? And I think this paint scheme looks great on there. So it's really clean too, isn't it? Just the paint's crisp. Doesn't really look like it's been used at all. Beautiful, beautiful example, I think, here. So yeah, look at that. No gunk or grime. I don't really know if this has ever been run, or if it has been run, it hasn't been run very much. So super impressed. Okay, obviously a little bit hesitant. It's probably been sitting for goodness knows. It wouldn't surprise me if this had been sitting for 30 years, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and do it the super smooth way and get some grease in here and see if we can go ahead and loosen things up just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit, so that we can get this running. But you know what? It's running pretty well, especially for a Tyco. Especially for having been sitting so long. Man, we don't need to, it's running, so I don't have to use penetrating oil. So let's go ahead and use the medium oil and just kind of get some oil back here on these contact or near contact surfaces. Let's get some back in there. I think we'll be in good shape if we just give it. And if this doesn't work, if it doesn't make it a lot better, we'll take off the plate here at the bottom, and we'll actually lubricate things directly. So let's, you know what? I'm going to change my mind a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just get some light oil to act as a penetrating oil and initial lubricant into some of these main motor bearings here. Let's just do that. And I think we will come up with a pretty decent locomotive. It just looks like it's been treated well, or actually not treated at all. So I think we'll be in really good shape. Let's plop it down on the track again and see what we get. I think that's about as good as we can expect without doing a teardown. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that'll work just fine. Let's take a look from the front here. Looks like the light is lighting up. So wow, I mean, it's just so sharp. I love the way that looks. Actually, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the red and orange, those two colors. I don't own any kind of daylight stuff. I've just never been a fan of the color scheme, but it looks good on here. I like it. I don't know. It matches up with the shark nose well for me. So now I have to think about this again. Well, there you have it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, this is the locomotive I don't think is going to give me any problems. It's GP7 demonstrator made by Atlas, and I think these are either Kato, directly made by Kato, or they like basically just licensed or completely stole their design. I'm not sure, but I've never had a problem with an Atlas straight out of the box. So let's see how this one goes. Now, I've always loved this demonstrator scheme. I won't lie. The silver and blue, I think, works really well together, really, really well together. Look at that. That's really nice and sharp. Yeah. Is there anything else in here? No, I'm not quite sure. And I don't know if this has been run. You know, I don't know what happened to some of this stuff before I've gotten a hold of. Oh, wait, there's something in there. Well, if it has been run, whoever, no, it's DCC ready, but if I were to do this, I'd discard that board anyway. But no matter, whoever had this before me either didn't run it much or didn't handle it much. I think it's going to be a really good model to work with here. So I think this is going to be pretty short because I think I'm just going to plop this down on the track. I think it's going to work straight away. So yeah, I think we're going to be fine. Let's get this box out of the way and get this onto the track, and let's see what happens. Okay, no big shock there, right? Pretty much worked straight away. I don't even hear anything kind of grinding or binding, so I may go through and lightly oil this, but frankly, it doesn't look like it's been used, if hardly at all. So I just don't think there's anything to do with this. I think it's just ready to go. It has a plug. I will convert this pretty quickly to DCC, I think, but there's no reason to use that plug because I will use an Economy PNP, and that will take the place of that board. But there you go. Looks like it runs fine. I can't quite see if the lights are working, but I've got this down pretty low. But look at that. It's nice and smooth. That crawl, I think this will be a pretty good model to work with. So yeah, not much more to do with this. So we'll move on to the next one here in a second. Alrighty, this is a Roundhouse maintenance away. I think it's a track cleaner, and I think it looks a little bit odd because it's missing the two ends that actually do the track cleaning. So I think the center part here, the motorized part is here, but the actual track cleaning part is here. Now, I don't actually know if this is a real thing, and then they just put the track cleaning in. So I don't know much about this, but I can tell right away that these wheels are going to need some cleaning. These look very terrible. Okay, let's go ahead and crack this open and just see how the mechanism works. So, yikes, this is bizarre. All right, so this big drum up front, I'm pretty sure is the flywheel, but boy, it has some really, I don't know if I would consider these bearings, these plastic inset pieces here that's really bizarre. And it's connected through this soft coupling in the center. I think that's what we've got. The motor doesn't look bad at all, but let's see if we can spin it. Okay, so the motor is spinning, and I can already tell the flywheel is not, so that connection's not so great. So the flywheel is probably gunked in there pretty bad because, again, instead of using a real metal bearing of some sort, now they had to use these plastic things, and that's just terrible. So we're going to have to start oiling things to get it to be able to spin anything. And I don't know what I'm going to do about this flywheel. I don't know. Can we oil it and will it start to spin? We'll probably have to end up taking it apart and then oiling the shaft that goes through it. See, we're spinning this, but the flywheel isn't spinning. So we have a couple issues. Let me go ahead and lubricate this, and that'll at least get something flowing here, but the big challenge is yet to come. But I want to go ahead and start spinning this so that I can start cleaning the wheels, and then we'll worry about the flywheel a little bit later. Let's go ahead and pop it on the track, just see what it does or doesn't do. Okay, to be honest, this is a bit of a fool's errand. I really need to clean the wheels, and I need to get this flywheel, if you can call it that, this flywheel spinning. So I assume this thing's going to be geared really low because it's a track cleaner, and that way it kind of crawls along. So it's sort of, I got two issues here. I gotta get these wheels cleaned and anything in there to kind of break loose, but then I gotta get this flywheel to break loose. All right, so what I think I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to take this thing off of there. I think just spinning it isn't going to help. And what I might do is I might overburden that soft connection between these two since it's not hard connected. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I think I'm going to have to actually disassemble this and then get everything to loosen up and then make sure that connection between the flywheel and the motor is good. And then I might be in good shape. Okay, so never underestimate the use of penetrating oils, particularly very light oils. Even if that's not the final oil you're going to leave on there, just to have one to get things moving again and get the oil into all kinds of little places that normally it wouldn't go. It really makes a big difference. So there you can see I was able to get some penetrating oil, some light oil down in there, and now I got the flywheel running. Alrighty, now that that's running, I think we're in a lot better position than we were here a little bit ago. And it seems to run pretty well. I'm not a big fan, and if I really, really wanted to do this right, what I would do is actually go and remount these holes just a little bit because they've probably gotten a bit gooey over the years, and because of that there may be some expansion, but I'm not going to worry too much about it right now, so let's plop it back on the track and see what it looks like. right, overall not one of mankind's greater achievements in terms of engineering, but yeah, I guess it's good enough, especially, I don't know how much these things retailed for back in the day. It looks pretty old, has this open frame motor, but the version I have actually looks pretty decent in terms of its cleanliness. It's just, this really wasn't meant to last a super long time, I don't think. Is this on the right way? I can't tell. Of course, I'm not sure if this was a real thing or not. It was some sort of a switcher, and then they added the track cleaning element. I don't know enough about it. I mean, I barely figured out enough to know that this is a track cleaner, or was a track cleaner, and now sans actual track cleaning. Is this the way this goes on? Let's see, I don't know. It's not, I don't know. It looks like one of those things that ought to be sort of symmetrical, but it's not quite symmetrical. So I don't know. Let's get this. You know what? Is this a track cleaner, or is this some sort of maintenance of way? Just maintenance of way little switcher. I don't know. Could somebody tell me? The only way I've seen these sort of in other pictures is as a track cleaner. So we got that shell back on there finally. Now I'm doubting myself. But it looks like it's running pretty well, even though my camera's out of focus. There we go. Looks like it's running okay. Okay, there you have it. Thanks for joining me on this final episode of Train Grabbag. I've really enjoyed these. Like I said, I got this one to 22 minutes, but it's very difficult doing so many trains, and you don't see the ones that I don't get to because they're going to take longer than even 20 minutes per each one of these. So I'm going to have a new series called Test It, Fix It, and Rip It. And I'm just going to basically do one or perhaps two locomotives at one time and no more. And if one of them requires any kind of repair at all, that'll be the only one. But I will also have a longer running session for you because these are nice to look at, but if I'm going to have to run them like this anyway, I might as well go ahead and go down to my main track and run it so that you can see it pulling something or doing something so that it looks pretty nice. So there you have this odd, quirky thing. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thanks for joining me. I'd love to get your likes and subscriptions if possible. Those help me out a lot, and I want to hear from you, especially if you know exactly what this thing is. That would be great. If you owned any of these, bring back any memories for you, hey, let me know. I want to hear about it. So take care. Happy model railroading. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.